Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level. We're here because the news is being distorted. We're here because people are being inundated with misinformation on social media. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth. Trump announces new trade deals, a bomb threat in New York, the loss of a music legend, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. President Trump on Tuesday announced a massive deal with Japan that includes reciprocal tariffs of 15% on the country's exports to the U.S., with auto duties reportedly being lowered to that level as well. In a post on Truth Social, Trump called the agreement perhaps the largest deal ever made, while adding that Japan would invest $550 billion in the United States and the U.S. would receive 90% of the profits. Trump said that Japan will open their country to trade, including cars and trucks, rice, and certain other agricultural products, and other things. The president added that the deal would create hundreds of thousands of jobs. The president also announced a trade deal with the Philippines shortly after Trump met with Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in the Oval Office. President Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines is just leaving the White House with all of his many representatives. It was a beautiful visit, and we concluded our trade deal whereby the Philippines is going open market with the United States and zero tariffs, Trump wrote on Truth Social. The Philippines will pay a 19% tariff. In addition, we will work together militarily, Trump added. President Trump announced that the U.S. will withdraw from UNESCO, citing concerns over the organization's diversity and inclusion policies, treatment of Israel, and growing Chinese influence. A White House review found that certain UNESCO initiatives, such as designating Jewish heritage sites as Palestinian and promoting social justice toolkits, conflicted with U.S. policy goals. Officials emphasized that the decision reflects a commitment to ensuring that U.S. involvement in international bodies aligns with national interests. This is the second U.S. withdrawal from UNESCO under Trump, following a similar move in his first administration in 2017. An American citizen from Oklahoma was killed along with 6 male relatives during the sectarian violence that erupted last week in Syria. Syrian-American Hossan Saraya, age 35, was visiting his family in southern Syria from Oklahoma City, where he lived. Last Wednesday, he and his family members were seized by armed men and gunned down in the street, according to a relative who spoke to NBC News on the condition of anonymity. Video circulating online and verified by NBC News showed Saraya and his family members being killed. A New York man is facing federal charges after allegedly building and stashing homemade bombs across Manhattan, including on active subway tracks and residential rooftops. Michael Gann, age 55, of Inwood, was charged Tuesday with manufacturing at least 7 improvised explosive devices using chemicals he bought online, according to U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton. The safety of New Yorkers is paramount, said Clayton. As alleged, Michael Gann built explosive devices, stored them on a rooftop in Soho, and threw one onto the subway tracks, putting countless lives at risk. Thanks to swift work by our law enforcement partners, no one was harmed. That vigilance assuredly prevented a tragedy in New York, Clayton said in a statement. As a spotlight falls on the U.S.'s failing air traffic control systems, a report shows that former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg purposely failed to replace outdated air traffic control systems while in office, with his agency instead shelling out tens of billions of dollars on a DEI agenda, according to federal spending records and airline industry insiders. In one meeting, Buttigieg, who is said to be eyeing a 2028 presidential run, told industry executives that air traffic control upgrades would just allow them to fly more planes. And so why would that be in his interest? Sources said. Instead of updating infrastructure, Buttigieg handed out hundreds of diversity, equity, and inclusion grants totaling more than $80 billion over 4 years, at least half of the DOT's entire budget for a typical fiscal year, records show. He was definitely pushing an agenda, an air industry official said, noting the Transportation Secretary had little to no interest and took definitely zero action towards air traffic control modernization. 230,000 files related to the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. have been released, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard announced on Monday. In January, President Trump signed an executive order directing the government to declassify records on the assassinations of King, President John F. Kennedy, and Senator Robert F. Kennedy. Transgender athletes born as biological men will no longer be eligible to compete for the United States in the Olympic or Paralympic Games in women's categories, U.S. Olympic officials announced on Tuesday. The officials cited President Trump's executive order titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports, which mandates immediate enforcement against athletic associations that deny women single-sex sports and single-sex locker rooms. As a federally chartered organization, we have an obligation to comply with federal expectations, U.S. OPC CEO Sarah Hirshland and President Gene Sykes wrote in a letter. The Global International Olympic Committee has allowed individual sport federations to set their own rules at the Olympics, and stricter rules on transgender athletes, barring anyone who went through male puberty from competing in women's events, have been passed by swimming, cycling, and track and field federations. Finally, on a sad note, Ozzy Osbourne, the heavy metal icon and reality TV star, has died at age 76, his family announced on Tuesday. Known for fronting the Black Sabbath rock band before launching a successful solo career, Osbourne was a controversial and erratic personality. He passed away surrounded by family just 17 days after performing his final show in Birmingham, England. Diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2019 and battling ongoing health issues, Osbourne left his mark on music with hits like Iron Man and Crazy Train, and later found a new audience through the Osbournes family reality show. His final memoir, Last Rites, is set for release in October. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.